Hari Om. Today we will proceed with Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, from verse number 36. And if you recall that over the last verses, Krishna has talked about five topics, that is Jnanam, knowledge, Karma, action, Karta, the doer, Buddhi, the intellect, and Dhruti, which means self-effort. And of these five topics, each topic he divided into three types, that is Sattvic, Rajasic, and Tamasic. So what is Sattvic knowledge? What is Rajasic knowledge? What is Tamasic knowledge? What is Sattvic action? What is Rajasic action? What is Tamasic action? And so forth and so forth. Krishna has discussed five topics up to verse number 35. Now the last topic he will discuss is called Sukham or happiness. And even happiness, Krishna says, is of three types. There is Sattvic happiness, Rajasic happiness, and Tamasic happiness. So now let us look at verse number 36, where the Lord introduces this topic about Sukham or happiness. So here the Lord talks about the three types of Sukham. And since there are three gunas in every human being, so which is the dominant guna will determine that person's knowledge. So if the person is Sattvic, he will pursue Sattvic type of knowledge. And therefore the person is also a Sattvic doer. He will perform Sattvic karma or action. When a person has Sattvic knowledge, performs Sattvic actions, the end result, that happiness can only be Sattvic. So the Lord says here, may from me, may you shrunu, may you hear, idanim, now, and he addresses Arjuna as Bharata Sahaba, which means Kyon of the Bharata dynasty. Kyon means one who is a descendant of a noble or notable family. And this he's referring to, of course, Arjuna, and to assure Arjuna that since you are from a noble family, all your actions, because of your right upbringing, will be Sattvic only. So the Lord says, Yatra, that in which Ramate, one takes delight, Abhyasat, owing to regular practice. So that regular action that we do and that happiness that we get. Example, when a person repeatedly smokes a cigarette, that smoking of the cigarette brings intense joy. And then that becomes a habit because it brings him joy every time he smokes. But what is the end result of such a bad habit? Or for example, if another person takes delight in going to temple and experiences joy in listening to spiritual discourses and bhajans, and that again becomes a habit because every time he goes, he gets joy and he wants to go again and again. And what will be the outcome of that? So the mind gets addicted when we constantly practice what brings us happiness. And the first time action is always based on our willpower. And once we derive joy from that action, whether right or wrong, we'll keep on doing it again and again. And then it becomes a habit until our willpower has no more control. So the Lord says any repeated action becomes a habit. If it is, and every action, if you think about it very logically, is undertaken for only one purpose. All the actions that we do, any human being, even an animal, undertakes action, the Lord says here, for one purpose. And what is that purpose? Ni gacchati. Gacchati means to attain. So when a prefix ni is attached to the word gacchati, it means fully attain. So to attain the maximum, action is performed to attain what? Maximum dukkha, sorrow, antam, for the end of sorrow. So we undertake action to remove some sorrow. We feel that there is something lacking, and we undertake that action to remove that what is lacking in us, what is causing us sorrow or distress. So ultimately, what we are searching for, in short, is happiness. We perform actions to remove that sorrow because we are searching for happiness, peace of mind, tranquility of mind. Even an animal also does action for the purpose of what we call to remove sorrow. So now, whatever action that we perform is we want to remove that sorrow in order to attain happiness. So now, nobody performs action, if you think about it, to attain sorrow. We only perform action to remove sorrow to attain happiness. So the Lord says in this verse, number 30, number 36, He says here, Tat Sukham, that happiness is Trividam, of three types: Sattvic, Rajasic, and Tamasic. So, what type of joy one attains is dependent on what type of habit one cultivates as a result of repeated actions. So, every action that we perform, one must face the results or the consequences. So, that brings us to verse 37, where Sri Krishna first defines what is Sattvic Sukham. Now, to enjoy Sattvic Sukham, one needs to be committed, one needs to be patient, because it takes time to attain Sattvic Sukham. One cannot immediately get Sattvic Sukham. So, Sattvic Sukham, the advantage is once you attain it, it is never subject to loss. Whereas Sukham that is gained from name, fame, wealth, relationships, it can come and it can go. It is temporary and fleeting. But Sattvic Sukham is different, because it is infinite Sukham. But it needs a lot of patience, a lot of commitment. So the Lord says, Yat, that type of Sukham, how do we know it is Sattvic Sukham? Which is agre in the beginning. Whenever we do any action, in the beginning, that action seems to us like visham, like poison. Visham eva, like poison. It is not that it is poison, but it seems to us like poison. So, example, poison is something, of course, that is painful, but here what it means is that there are many obstacles to overcome. It requires a lot of sacrifice, a lot of discipline, commitment, struggles. And if you think about it, in order to give up our past bad habits, the mind will rebel. When we try to give up bad habits, the mind will go against us. So it is not easy to give up bad habits. So in the beginning, we find that giving up bad habits gives us a lot of distress, tension, worry, anxiety, etc. So because why? We have gone through lifetimes conditioned to a life of sense pleasures. Intense, we want instant gratification. So not everything can give us instant gratification, and not everything can give us sense pleasures, but we want all these things. And to move away from these things because they are harmful to us, then definitely we need to overcome that frustration and anxiety. It takes a lot of commitment and practice. So there was an example, a very nice story I read about how to break that mind. And this Swamiji wrote about when he used to go trekking in the mountains, very high in the mountains. And since the journey involved several days, so they had to carry many items with them, like clothing, warm clothing, food, fuel, etc. And there were caretakers that used donkeys to carry this heavy load. But whenever the load was placed on a donkey for the first time, the donkey is an animal which is lazy by habit. So what the donkey used to do is kick up his hind legs, his back legs, and throw the load off from its back. So whenever you put the load on the donkey, it kicks up his hind legs and the load falls down. The caretakers came up with a simple trick. Although being cruel, to discipline the donkey, they tied one of the front legs of the donkey to the rear legs. So when the donkey kicked up the rear legs, automatically it pulled the front leg and the donkey landed flat on its face. It hurt itself. Every time it kicked its legs, it fell flat on its face. So after a few tries, the donkey got scared to kick up his hind legs and he carried on carrying the load. So, in the same way, the nature of the mind has to be broken, and it will take some pain, some anxiety, some struggle, some sacrifice. But the Lord says if a seeker continues to make sacrifice, overcome obstacles, working towards the supreme goal, then the suffering and the pain, which in the beginning was like poison, seemed like poison, the Lord says, Pariname, in the end, will become amritopamam, will be compared to nectar. It will be sheer bliss, sheer joy. So it is also like when we want to exercise, when we are overweight. The first time, the first few weeks, we try to get up early, we try to go to the park to jog or to walk. It seems very painful, it seems very stressful. But once we start seeing the results and we enjoy the activity, then we look forward to that walk or to that jog also. It becomes a pleasure. So in the same way also, the spiritual path is not an easy path. We have to, when we start on it, it seems very difficult. It requires a lot of sacrifice and commitment. It seems like poison, but once we keep on pushing ourselves with our willpower, the end result, the Lord says, is only amrit, like nectar. And there is a what you call a lot of stories given in our scriptures also about all this to explain that one who makes sacrifices will suffer in the beginning but will only get real happiness. Now, why is this Satvik Sukham so fulfilling and permanent? Krishna says here in this verse, because Atma, self, Buddhi, knowledge, Prasadajam, it is derived from self-knowledge. It is born out of self-knowledge. That means before one attains this self-knowledge, out of ignorance, we run after the world to seek happiness and comfort. And seeking happiness is our birthright. Every human being wants to seek happiness. But the problem is we are seeking for the joy in the wrong place. When the world itself is constantly changing, we are seeking joy and happiness from the world that is constantly changing. How is it possible that our joy can remain infinite? It can remain the same. It can never remain the same. So, therefore, with knowledge comes clarity about the world, that the world is not a place for me to seek joy. The world is a place for me to discharge my duties, is to serve the world, serve the Lord, serve humanity. But for my comfort, for my joy, for my security, for my happiness, I must seek it from the spiritual path. So when that knowledge arises in us, that brings us to the right direction to seek happiness. Lord says that joy is born out of that knowledge. And that's why the joy that you get when you seek happiness from the right direction, that joy can only be infinite. So, this is something that we have to really understand, that we have to make sacrifices if we are seeking that infinite joy. So, now what is Rajasic happiness? Also, the Lord explains here in the next verse 38. What is Rajasic Sukham? Now, one thing we must understand, both Satvik Sukham and Rajasic Sukham both require committed activity. It is not that Rajasic Sukham also does not require sacrifices and commitment also. But what is the difference? Satvik Sukham will lead to tranquility of mind and spiritual progress. There may be material progress also, But the primary aim of Sattvic Sukham is tranquility of mind and spiritual progress. Rajasic actions will lead to material progress, there's no doubt. But definitely, there is no tranquility of mind because the mind is always demanding more and more and more. It is always comparing to what others have, and if you see somebody has more than you, again you're not happy. So, in Rajasic Sukham, Rajasic actions will lead to material progress, but definitely there is no tranquility of mind or temporary tranquility of mind, and definitely there is no spiritual progress. So, sattvic actions lead to absolute bliss, rajasic actions lead to temporary bliss. And while sattvic sukham is based on knowledge, the right knowledge leading to the discovery of the bliss within, rajasic sukham is derived from contact of our senses with the world. So there is no knowledge here, it is just senses contacting with the world and bringing us some pleasant experiences. So the Lord says, this is the definition of Rajasic Sukham. Tat Sukham, that happiness, yat, which arises from some yoga, contact of the Vishaya, objects of the world. So when our eyes see something pleasant, our ears hear some pleasant sounds of music, our lips, our tongue tastes some what we call tasty food, our skin touches and has a wonderful sensation. All this is called a contact of our senses with the world. So the Lord says some yoga, contact of Vishaya, objects, with our indriya, with our organs. Eyes, ears, nose, etc., the organs coming into contact with the world through rasa, through taste, through gandha, through smell, and so forth. And therefore, what is the result of such contact of the senses with the world? The Lord says, agre, in the beginning, such type of contacts are amritopamam. It is like nectar. It gives us instant pleasure, instant happiness, instant joy. So instant gratification. We eat a wonderful meal, we get instant gratification. We hear some nice gossip or we hear some nice music, instant gratification. So, or you develop a new friendship, instant gratification. It can give you all types of happiness. But what is the problem? The problem is, here he tells us also, because the mind keeps on demanding instant gratification, and as long as you please the mind, you are happy. So what happens? The Lord says, it will be like visham, poison, evil, like poison, pariname in the end. So that happiness which gives us instant happiness in the beginning, but in the end causes us a lot of distress, trouble, agitation, anxiety. The Lord says that is Rajasic Sukha. So, what we call a beautiful example was given in one of the scriptural texts to explain what is this Rajasic Sukham. So the example was, if you have a pot and there is a fire burning, and in the pot there is water. Now, when the fire hits the pot hits the water starts to boil. And afterwards, if you want the water to cool down, you just add in more cold water, the water cools down. But because the fire is still burning, after a while, that cool water again becomes hot. So, what is the allegory here? Mind, when it is stirred by desires, it starts to disturb us. So it pushes us to actions. When we acquire what the mind demands, okay, whatever the mind demands, we acquire, we obtain it. For a while, the mind cools down. But what happens? Because so many desires are still burning there in the mind, another desire will heat up the mind and will push us to another action. And we satisfy that, the mind calms down for a while, Again, after a while, the mind pushes us with another desire to another action. So, man is the slave of desires. It is said, man is the slave of desires, but desires are the slave of no one. This is the problem. We become a slave of desires. Why? In order to, to placate or to make the mind happy, to cool down or to settle the mind. So the Lord says, Tat Smridam Rajasam. That is said to be Rajasam Sukham, Rajasic bliss, which in the beginning gives us instant pleasure, but in the end gives us a lot of pain. And we can see these examples in all our addictions: alcoholic addiction, addiction to cigarettes, addiction to drugs, addiction to gambling, all these kind of wise activities, VICE, wise activities or wise, in the beginning they give us a lot of pleasure, then they make us addicted to them, and in the end we suffer as a result of this overindulgence of gambling, alcohol, etc. And that is called Rajasic Sukham. So now in verse 39, the Lord will speak about Tamasic Sukham. Tamasic Sukham is neither born out of knowledge or of contact of senses, because a tamasic person does not want to put in any effort. Tamasic Sukham is based on one philosophy: ignorance is bliss. So, a tamasic person will never put any effort in life to find bliss. But how does he find bliss? How to avoid work? How does he find bliss? In sleeping and eating and remaining in a state of ignorance. So the Lord says, Tat Sukham, that happiness, Yat, which Agre, in the beginning, Cha, and Anubandhe, in the result, in the beginning and in the end, it is Mohanam, it is delusive, Atmanaha, to oneself. So from birth to death, this person will never find that real happiness. It will always be very delusive, he will never experience that. But what is it that keeps the tamasic person engrossed in his state? There are a few things the Lord says here. Nidra, sleep. And sleep here means excessive sleep. Sleeping for unnecessary hours also. Alasya, laziness. So these are all the things that give a tamasic person the wrong things. A tamasic person is getting happiness from excessive sleep, from laziness is getting happiness, meaning avoiding work. And that also leads to pramadotham. The word pramadotham here means negligence of duties and responsibilities. A tamasic person will find any way to avoid doing his duties and responsibilities. And that's what gives them the joy. The wrong things gives this tamasic person a joy. And that person, this tamasic person, will not change his habits, will not take the advice of others. Instead, he will justify his wrongful way of living. And the saddest part is that the Lord has gifted every human being with the intellect to discriminate from right and wrong actions and make the right choices in life. But unfortunately, this tamasic person is so engrossed in a state of sleep, laziness, and negligence that he ends up deluding also himself also. And this is the sad part of a tamasic person. So the intellect gets weaker and weaker and weaker. And the person actually, the human being actually leads a life almost like an animal, because that's what animals do: eat, drink, sleep, procreate. A human being is no different from an animal also. So the Lord says of this type of happiness, which from beginning to end also, that happiness is deludes a person. He says Udaharidam is said to be tamasam, is born out of tamas also. So now the Lord has concluded the topics here which he started earlier. The topic of renunciation, what is sannyasa, he explained to us. Jnanam, knowledge. karma, action, karta, doer, intellect, buddhi, firmness, dhriti, and happiness, sukham. And each of these topics the Lord has divided into three types: sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic. So depending on our gunas, we will do that. If we have that type of knowledge, that type of action only will perform, that type of happiness only we will get. And we have a choice to understand this and make a change in our life. Now in verse 40, Sri Krishna wants to conclude the discussion about the gunas from verses 40 to 44. Now, therefore, here in verse number 40, we have to understand that this whole creation is called Prakriti or matter. And in this matter, that means this body is matter, mind is matter, everything, the trees, the plants, the animals, everything is made out of matter. And contained in this matter exist the three gunas, sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. So nothing in creation can escape these three gunas, right? So therefore, what is this creation? It is the five elements: ether, air, fire, water, earth, which is matter, plus mind, plus intellect, plus ego. And in all these 8 components are the three gunas also. And everything from the heavenly planet Swargaloka to the world earthly planet, right down to Patal Loka, to the demoniac planes, all these 14 lokas is a mixture of Prakriti plus the three gunas also. And there will always be one guna which dominates over the other two gunas. And this topic of the gunas has been extensively discussed by Sri Krishna. If you want to read up further, please go to chapter 14, which deals exclusively with the three gunas also. And here in chapter 18, Lord is summarizing that effect of the three gunas on certain things, like what is renunciation, what is sattvic renunciation, rajasic renunciation, tamasic renunciation, three types of gunas, how they affect our jnanam, our knowledge, how they affect our karma action, how they affect the karta, the doer, how they affect the intellect, the buddhi, how they affect the dhriti or willpower, and how we get the joy, the three types of joy. So now Sri Krishna will discuss and conclude about the three gunas. The Lord says in this verse number 40, Na tat asti, there is no such sattvam. Here the word sattvam means entity, meaning anything that is sentient or insentient, anything moving or not moving. The Lord says there is no such entity, moving or not moving, prithivam, in the world. And the Lord says vahapuna, or again deveshu, among the gods. So in this world and also in the heavenly planets, divi, in the heavens, vahapuna, again, yat, which can be muktam, devoid from tribhi guna. These three gunas are in every part of creation, in the heavenly planets, in the world, in the what we call the patal, the hell lokas. Nothing, no object is devoid of these three gunas. So why the Lord says prakriti jay? Because the gunas are born of prakriti. Wherever there is prakriti matter, the three gunas are born out of it. So prakriti exists in all creation, the three gunas exist in all the creation also. So since the whole world is a creation, whole creation is a product of prakriti, and this prakriti is also known as Maya, and in it there are the three gunas. Krishna is going to answer, tell us more about this in the next few verses by stating that since these gunas dominate us, so every individual has got a set of duties to perform according to the gunas. So if my gunas are predominantly sattvic, what type of activity shall I perform? If my gunas are rajasic, what type of activity will attract me? This is what Krishna is going to explain to us. So we will see in the next lesson from verse number 41 about the caste system, and this is one of the most misunderstood aspects of our religion. It is not understood, and people give all the wrong kind of explanations about the caste system. Krishna has explained about the caste system in chapter 4, and he will again emphasize that it is the caste system is based on the three gunas. It is not based on which family you're born in. So let us try to understand the right, what we call definition of our caste system, which will be discussed from verse 41 onwards in our next lesson. Hari Om Tat Sat.